Hi, everyone. I'm Hector Del Castillo, CEO of Bold PM, and I'd like to welcome all of you to today's discussion. The topic for today is project management trends in a hybrid world. And I just want to note there was a change in the title, and there's a reason for that. So just hang on and we'll find out more. As Susan pointed out, there is a moderated audience Q&A at the end of today's discussion. So be sure to submit your questions either using the chat window or the Q&A window, and then we can get your questions answered. Today, we're going to be discussing specifically what are the trends and opportunities that you can leverage to achieve greater or better project outcomes. And we'll talk about what some experts have been saying post-COVID-19 and some of the trends and predictions that are impacting not just the function of project management, but also the role of project managers. So we'll start with this particular quote from John F. Kennedy. Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past and present are certain to miss the future. And so the topic for today is about not just understanding the trends and the changes, the fast and furious changes that have been impacting project management and the professionals involved in managing projects. And that, by the way, will continue to accelerate, not slow down for the next 10 years. And we'll talk about the challenges and the opportunities that this environment is creating for project managers. First thing is our goal today is to help you understand the trends and the predictions that are impacting your role as project managers within your organizations. And we're going to be discussing this in three parts. We're going to talk about the current situation, what everybody's saying is going to be happening between now and the next decade through 2030. And then talk about some of the trends and predictions that people are making about project management and the specialists and the professionals that actually are involved in managing projects within organizations. Then we'll just summarize with a brief key takeaway, and then we'll move on to a moderated Q&A after that. So let's move on to the current situation. What is happening in today's world? Well, the latest and greatest from Davos 2023. This is a beginning of every year. People meet and kind of talk about what's happening around the world and what's changing in the world, in the global economy. And here's one of the things that happened from a recent looking at skills outlook and the growing skills and the declining skills, so to speak, across global countries and global markets. And some of these are things that we've already starting to see a lot of acceleration in innovation, analytical thinking, people that are required to do more active learning and have learning strategies because there's a lot of reskilling and upskilling going on of professionals, really focusing on increasing creativity, fast and furious pace of technological innovation and new technologies that are now being introduced, and critical thinking and analysis to figure out how we can actually start solving the right problems and solving them the right way that appeals to many, not just a few. And then also the ability to do complex problem solving. These are all some of the things that are growing, and some of the things that are declining, whether you like it or not. It's quality control, safety awareness, manual dexterity, memory, verbal, auditory, and spatial abilities, management of financial and material resources, and technology installation and maintenance. And if you don't believe that, then kind of look at what's happening right now in construction. Is there any construction that went on in post-COVID-19? Is construction picking up right now in a world of high inflation and high interest rates? The answer is all of these things are impacting entire industries, and often you're going to see them kind of revamped or rebirthed in a completely different paradigm, different environments, and different situations going on once they pick up once again. Some of the macro trends that kind of came out from the World Economic Forum held earlier this year are the following. A lot of the organizations right now are likely to do the following in the next 5 years. Number one, they want to increase adoption of new and edge technologies, razor edge technologies that includes AI and automation and other things. Broadening of the digital footprint and digital access to things, not just implementing e-commerce, but actually digitizing the entire organization, all the critical business functions of an organization being digitized and moved to the cloud. Also, broader applications of environmental, social, and governance standards as well. And then a rising cost of living for consumers as a whole. So that's inflation, and figuring out how to actually start slowing that down. And the attempts that have been done around markets to try to slow down the impact of high inflation. And then also slower global economic growth. And right now, everybody has been saying that there's an impending recession here in US. Well, this is happening around the world. And right now, the good news is that it appears that, according to the latest, experts are saying that here in US, they're expecting sort of like a dampened recession. So it won't be as bad as it was the last one we had. Also, technology adoption. A lot of technologies that are being introduced, and the ones that are most fast and furious, here's the top technologies that most everybody wants to adopt, from cloud computing to big data analytics to Internet of Things and connected devices to higher encryption and security for securing your assets and your solutions, as well as adoption of artificial intelligence that includes machine learning and neural linguistic programming, and then text, image, and voice processing, and e-commerce and digital trade as well as robots and automation, and augmented and virtual reality. These are some of the top few. And if you look at the mark of what people were predicting back in 2018, there's actually been acceleration of some of these technologies that will be actually adopted through 2025. So this is basically going to be continuing on for the next few years. And therefore, it's going to impact the type of projects that project managers will be actually responsible for managing to make these things happen. Here are some of the top 10 fastest growing jobs around the world, according to the World Economic Forum. Their latest jobs reports as of the beginning of this year. It was released in the first quarter of 2023. So no surprise, a lot of AI and machine learning specialists that are going to be needed across markets. Sustainability specialists is the people who have a sustainable or are in the circular economy, doing a lot of green projects. Business intelligence analyst and data analyst, information security analyst, fintech engineers, data analysts and data scientists, robotics engineers, electrotechnology engineers, agricultural equipment operators, and digital transformation specialists. These are all the jobs that are going to be sort of accelerating all the adoption of the top technologies that I spoke about earlier, according to the World Economic Forum. And a lot of this is going on here in North America and in US specifically. Declining jobs, you can see some of the things that have gone away. And those include a lot of the brick and mortar Main Street type of business things that are going away because of so much digital transformation and digital adoption and e-commerce going on. Project failure is still too high. According to most experts, and this is according to a recent Capterra report that actually surveyed organizations, and they surveyed organizations in US specifically, and they're reporting that project failure rates are still too high. Here's the latest results. And in essence, 1 in every 4 projects have less than 50% chance of delivering on time and within budget. And that is the number one issue that most project management offices today are trying to solve. And we're going to talk about some of the things, some of the implications, challenges, and also trends, and some of the predictions to reduce project failure rates around organizations. So the current situation for project management specialists, project managers, is that today there's still new jobs that are still being created. Granted, as of the latest Department of Labor report here in US, they're down to 39,000 new job openings last month in March, compared to at the beginning of the year, which was 82,000. It only means that job market right now has been slowing down, but they're still very active. And these particular job categories includes project management specialists. And according to the latest PMI jobs outlook report that was published about, I want to say about 2 or 3 years ago, new project management jobs are supposed to be growing at an overall annual rate of 7% between now and at the end of this decade, 2030. And about 70,400 openings for project management specialists. And this is around the world, by the way, but many of them are going to be here in US, and projected that on average through 2030, a lot more project management specialist jobs being created through the end of this decade. And no surprise, Washington, D.C., this is the area where I live, is the top US job market for project managers. So pretty good picture overall if you are a project manager specialist. So let's now take a look at some of the trends and predictions. If you want to remain in project management, what are some of the things that you need to do to prepare to actually be effective in either staying within your organization and being able to lead effectively new projects, or moving on to a different organization and still remain as a project management specialist within other organizations. So we're going to talk about 5 major trends and predictions of how project management is going to continue to evolve, but also the role of project managers is going to evolve as well based on these 5 trends and predictions. So number 1, AI and automation are already transforming project management. If you look at what's been happening in the last 10 years in project management, it's been a lot of changes, and most of it has to do with the adoption of agile project management methodologies and impacting the way project managers work and how they lead teams. Well, that's going to continue. And now, in order to reduce the project failure rate that I spoke about earlier, a lot of tools that are now on market and continuing to be optimized that will be specifically tools for project managers. And these tools will do any of these things. They will generate better performance insights for project managers, will be able to support better decision-making processes within organizations, being able to select the right priorities, the right projects to cut down or accelerate when needed in order to get to continue delivering the business value that you want to continue delivering moving forward. Number 3, making estimates and predictions as well, better estimates and predictions regarding how quickly or how you can accelerate and how you can optimize resource allocation and resource planning as the way of the future, be able to have some sort of visual assistant that will help you in doing any of these things. In addition to enabling better data visualization, dashboards of all shapes and sizes that are not just looking at your project, but it's looking at the impact of other interrelated projects that are going on within the organization to make better decisions. And then identifying risks and trends, and then looking at what-if scenarios to look at opportunities to improve operational efficiencies. These are all the different ways that AI is now being embedded into project management tools to allow project managers to reduce project failure rates around organizations. Trend number 2, self-determined working and inflexible environments. We live not just in an agile world for those of us that have been working in software companies or technology companies. We actually are living in post-COVID-19. There's a rise in hybrid environments. Not only are we working in hybrid with hybrid teams, we're working with hybrid project teams, and we're leading teams in a hybrid world. And what I mean by that is that most of us now, if we're not working in 100% remote environments where everybody is geographically distributed, everybody in the project team, we're now having to report to the office maybe some of the time, and then work from home, but have a work environment where we're effectively working in different ways from different locations, and it's adaptable environments that we have to be. So a lot of this is a way of the future. And this is based on a survey report that was released by Microsoft late last year, 2022, and saying that hybrid environments is the way that most organizations are going right now. Even as there is a fast and furious pace or acceleration to try to get people back to the office, most of us are still not going back to the office full time as before COVID. Now the way of the future is going to be reporting, to be in person maybe 2 or 3 days in a week, and then working from somewhere else the rest of the week. And that's going to be the way of the future for most organizations moving forward, according to this report. And this is no secret that now most of us are managing projects when we're actually leading or managing hybrid teams. Number 3, demand for emotional intelligent leaders. And that includes project managers. So we need project leaders that are actually able to build and lead self-organized teams, as in Agile, when you're using Agile approach, even when you're using Waterfall approach. Encouraging creativity and finding solutions, and basically work on leveraging all of your team resources to come up with the best possible solution and the best way to enunciate a problem that you need to solve. In addition to building trust, in order to have an honest appraisal of the circumstances, the scenarios, and the tasks that to be done, and now activities that need to be done not just by one person, but need to be done by a group of people that are working together, and be able to reduce the stress, the amount of stress within project teams caused by different uncertainties that will happen. There is no doubt with so many changes that even as you can have the base laid plan, but something changes along the way as you're going in implementation, and you have no other recourse but to adjust to those changes, and you need to at least be able to anticipate those changes in order to figure out what is the best way to make adjustments in order to move forward and complete the task at hand in a timely manner, and be able to then create environments in which team feel comfortable to basically do what they need to do, and they don't just feel like running away or moving into a different environment because they're too stressed. So this is what emotional intelligence is all about. So we're going to need project leaders that have a high level of emotional intelligence. And if you have been dealing with some of the project leaders that I often work with, it's a lot of reskilling and upskilling within project leaders to be able to have a much better, much higher emotional intelligence to run the projects in a different way than before. You've got to have people that can be more self-aware, are able to self-manage much better, have greater empathy, and have better social skills to deal with the situations that you're going to be dealing with as you're leading hybrid teams, and then be able to inspire and motivate them to do the work that needs to be done. And I would add here to have the adaptability, the ability to adapt to changes that are going to be coming, regardless of how well laid your project plan is before you start. And it's all about figuring out how to adapt quickly enough in order to move forward and still deliver the right thing at the right time as part of your project. Number 4, focus on data-driven project management. And what I mean by that is that we need project managers that need to build deeper knowledge about the copious amount of information that is being gathered within organizations today. And my guess is that most people don't have access or don't feel that they need to have access to this. And guess what? As a project leader, you need to have access to all of your data, not just the data about your project. If you want to really figure out what is the best possible solution to solve ways that don't implicate introducing unintended consequences to other projects, you need to have visibility into all of your data that is being gathered to figure out what is the best way to solve a problem in a way that doesn't impact other projects already going on within the organization, or it doesn't impact customers that are your key customers within an organization. And project managers also need to leverage that data in order to drive better decisions and adopt data analytics tools that you may not even be using today. And that means somebody needs to start looking and gathering information as to what are some of these tools and platforms that are easier to adopt because of their ease of use, that can easily move large amounts of information, can ingest all the information that you already have, and then be able to overlay other information that you might be able to license or acquire in order to make better decisions. And also have AI-powered analytics in order to improve and be able to start looking ahead as to early signs of scope creep, things that will impact your project velocities, will impact how you optimize resources, and that enable you to increase efficiencies and reduce project failure rates across the entire organization. So as you're making changes, you want to make sure that project failure rates, not just for your project, but other projects, also continue to improve when these are when they're all key projects that need to be implemented at the same time and moved on by the organization at the same time. And becoming a data-driven project manager is what you need to do a lot of reskilling and upskilling if you haven't been dealing with any data analytics tools and platforms to manage your projects. And it goes way beyond spreadsheets. So that is becoming a data-driven project manager is another skill set that you need to acquire in order to move forward, because a lot of organizations, as I mentioned before, regardless of the project, are right now adopting analytics and AI and all these new technologies, and you need to be an early adopter of these technologies in the way you manage your projects. Number 5, hybrid project management. Not only do we live in a hybrid world today, and we're managing hybrid teams, we're also are stuck running hybrid project management methodologies. And what I mean by that is the following. Did you know that 37% of cross-functional teams now have dedicated project managers, and that project managers are now being encouraged to lead and leverage new members in cross-functional teams, untapped skills, as well as share best practices across all projects within the organization, and then allow each project team to decide whether or not they want to incorporate their own processes or just continue to use best practices and methods being used by other projects within the same organization. So the rise of hybrid project management is what I'm talking about here. Here's the same Capterra report that just came out earlier this year. And when they surveyed different organizations, here's what came out. 51% of organizations are running integrated project management. And when you look at Waterfall or Agile, neither is leading. It's actually both organizations that are having to run both Agile and Waterfall that are now increased to 21%. And over time, it is expected that this 21% of organizations that are running hybrid project management, meaning they have both Agile teams and Waterfall teams in different parts of the organization, will continue to increase in the next few years. And they will probably be equal with integrated project management at some point. And integrated project management is being used today in legacy organizations or legacy industries that have been around for some time and have had project management for some time. But the newer organizations, these are technology, software, and the users of software and technologies that are now running in this hybrid world. And there's going to be an increase. It is expected that within 3 to 5 years, hybrid is going to increase and be in par with integrated project management methodologies. And everybody else will continue to lose market share if they're running Agile only or Waterfall only or some other methodology only that is a legacy methodology of project management. So expect that your role as project manager will continue to move forward. If you want to be flexible, you need to be able to manage effectively, not just waterfall projects, but also agile projects. Or if you're managing a portfolio of projects, you need to make sure that you can understand the the pros and cons of both waterfall and agile when you're running hybrid projects. And what I mean by that is that you can actually start running some of the phases. If you're running a product, if you're in a product-centric organization, you may have a product lifecycle that looks similar to this, where you have 5 or 7 phases that go from conceive, plan, develop, qualify, launch into market, and just continue to deliver into the market across customers for a long time, maybe even retire some of those products at some point. But the way you're running the actual development and design of a product, and even the validation to find out if the product that you're about to launch has a high enough product to market fit in order to actually get the traction that you're looking for before you launch the product into market, you can actually start doing that using an agile approach. And this is what many technology and software companies are already doing. When they are fast and furiously implementing a new product, the way they do their design and development, they actually focus a lot on getting customer feedback very early on, and they continue to improve and improve and improve and add all the things that are nice to haves and delighters that customers are expecting, and ensure that they have stickiness to their product before they proceed to launch. And then they move on to actually launching at that point where they're ready, when they already know that they have a high enough product to market fit. But the way that they deliver and they continue to deliver, they may actually be doing a waterfall. And what I mean by that, waterfall delivery of any product that was implemented using Agile is when you need to maybe have something delivered and be installed and then set up, configured, because your customers are not necessarily going to be specialists at doing the installation and configuration and the operations of the actual product that you're selling. Or you may be doing all of this on behalf of your customer, because what you're selling to them is the data that whatever you're installing is collecting in order to make better decisions about their business. If you're a data provider, you may be stuck doing this, and that means that every account that you capture, before you can deliver the data that you promised to them, you would have to have a way to ensure that you plan and estimate how long and how many resources and what exactly you need to do in order to install and be able to, for your customers to reap the benefits of the data that you're delivering to them. And that is product delivery is done in a waterfall fashion. So while your product development and design is being done in an agile approach, the delivery to each and every customer is a waterfall approach. And there are lots of companies, specifically IoT companies and IoT solution vendors, that you may need to install some hardware or some widget at home and maybe provide the services to do that on behalf of your customers, because your customers may not be savvy enough, knowledgeable enough. And if your product is complex enough, you may need to have specialists do all this installation setup before you can deliver the benefits of your product to your customers. And you're stuck in this hybrid world for that reason. And the same thing can happen on the conceive and plan side when you're actually working at understanding whether product discovery often can be done in an agile approach, but most often can be done also in a waterfall environment where you're collecting all the different requirements and understanding all the needs and all the desires of your customer segments before you move into design and development of your product. So these are different examples as to how different organizations are now running in hybrid environments, because you don't have one or the other of these project management methodologies. You have both going on at the same time within the same organization. And therefore, project managers leading any kind of project within this particular organizations need to be savvy enough to be able to go back and forth between agile and waterfall methodologies. So kind of a key takeaways that we can take from these, we talked about 5 different trends, 5 predictions, and the need for project managers to upskill and reskill in different ways when you're missing some of these things that I spoke about earlier. You need to be early adopters of AI and automation, specifically when it comes to project management software and tools that are now available to you. You need to start working with them to understand the pros and the cons of using them and reap the benefits in order to reduce project failure rates of any project that you're managing within organizations. You also want to make sure that you are able to upskill and reskill in order to actually become a better leader of hybrid teams and even help some of your team members in ensuring that they have what they need in order for them to be effective when they're now stuck working in a hybrid environment where sometimes they'll be at a work location somewhere and sometimes they'll be at their own home, but in a working environment, have access to all the resources that they need in order for them to work effectively no matter where they are, and you're bringing the project to them. That is what is needed in order to have flexible work environments, is to make sure that you're bringing the project and the task to be done wherever your team members are located and that they can work together even though they may not be physically together. And be able to develop an upskill and reskill so you can become a much more effective project leader by building your own leadership and emotional intelligence skills so that you can become a better motivator and inspire your team members to get it done when you need projects to get done. And also be able to increase the focus and be an early adopter of data analytics solutions so that you can become a data-driven project manager, allows you to make smarter, better decisions faster. And be able to also go back and forth seamlessly between managing Agile and Waterfall projects and remote teams that are involved in those projects as well. That is the way of the future. If you want to become a better and more effective project leader, you need to do these 5 things in the next few years in order to ensure that you stay on board within the organization, move up in different kinds of projects that you're managing, or if you need to, be able to move from one organization to another and still remain a relevant project manager. Before we get into questions, also, I want to say that you want to be part of this community, Bold PM. That is my company. We're actually connecting top-notch project and product management professionals in order to upskill and reskill, maybe move back and forth between the 2 functions of product and project management. And upskilling and reskilling is what we do. So if you're interested, you can go to the short link at the bottom of this page, and you can actually go there. Or you can also just connect with me or email me. And any questions you might have, if you have a need to work on a career transition, or maybe get a new position, because right now you're in the middle of almost at the end of your current contract as a project leader, let me know. We can actually set up a time where we can figure out how we can help you. And at this point, we're ready for questions. So, Susan, I wasn't really sure if we have any questions from either the audience or the chat.
Yes, thank you, Hector. We do have a quick one popped up. Can you post the link to connect, which I think you have up now, right? The LinkedIn request. Perfect. Okay. So we had that. We had a comment from someone earlier. In speaking to emotional intelligence as a PM, I have identified the difference between self-awareness and self-management.
So self-awareness and self-management are sort of like almost go hand in hand. Let me put it this way. You can't self-manage if you're not self-aware, right? And self-manage is the understanding not just some of the things that you're good at, but it's also understanding your weaknesses and figuring out how you can actually leverage your strengths and only focus on the things that you're good at, and then realizing that you're not necessarily going to be able to overcome all of your weaknesses simultaneously. It might take a while to do that, and maybe a lot of work, but you can start leveraging your strengths and then focus on being upfront with your team members and saying, this is what I'm good at, but I need you as my team member in order to succeed in this project to do this other things that are not my strengths. And then just be clear that you need to have this conversation very early on as you're forming and building your team before you even start working with your team members. This is part of what you do when you start building a team, is assess each other's strengths and weaknesses and make sure that you're assigning the right task to the right people within your project very early on, and that you can go through these assessments that are available to figure out what each and every one of your team members is really good at and what they're not so good at, but they can do it if they have to, right? That's part of self-management, is understanding that often you may need to have people that don't have the same matching strengths and weaknesses. What you really need to do is understand what are the things that need to get done and who has the affinities, or what type of people have affinities to do the different type of work that is needed in order to get the job done, and all the tasks, the collection of tasks that will allow you to complete the project on time and within budget.
Great. Thank you, Hector. And someone commented, helpful explanation, Hector. Thank you. So perfect. We appreciate that. So yes, if you have any more questions, please feel free to post them in the Q&A or the chat for Hector. Also, his email is here on the screen. Also, to answer any questions regarding if you would like a copy of the presentation, copy of the slides, please connect with Hector via email at hector@boldpm.com. So with that, I think we'll give people a moment or two to post any other questions they may have. Hector, if you wouldn't mind moving to the next slide, just a reminder to those of you who may not already be, or next one, sorry, a member with us, thank you, at the Great IT Professional, or you need to renew your membership, please visit our subscribe page at greatpro.org/subscribe. There you can register for a premium membership, which is typically $199 for the entire year, and that grants you access to all of the webinar recordings on our site. We have over 970 of them out there. We have many from Hector. He has been one of our most favorite presenters for years, so we have many of his webinars out there. I highly suggest you view some of his past webinars with us. During the month of April, however, we are offering our memberships for only $59 for the year. I'll put that coupon code in the chat for you. It's APR, I'm on May 23. Forgive me, I'm a month behind. So it's May 23. That will reduce your cost from $199 down to $59. So take advantage of that. The premium membership also grants you access to mobile apps, so you can do your continuous learning on the go for both Apple and Android users. So I believe that's all the questions we have at this point. So with that, we'll wrap things up. Again, if you want to reach out to Hector via email, please feel free to do so at hector@boldpm.com, or connect with him via LinkedIn. Or if any of you have questions regarding today's webinar or the Great IT Professional, please feel free to reach out to me at susan.soul@cai.io. So with that, I thank you all for joining us today, and we do hope to see you at some of our future webinar events. Hector is presenting with us again, I believe twice, so please go to our live webinar page at greatpro.org and register for his future webinars. So with that, Hector, we thank you so much for your time and for presenting with us today.
Yes, thank you so much, Susan, and thanks to the Great IT Professional for hosting these webinars. I think they're great. And also want to just reach out to the audience. Also, thanks to the audience for attending. If you want to get a copy of today's discussion and maybe the slides as well, I will send you a link to a post-event page. If you email me and let me know that you attended today's webinar. Also, if you connect with me as well and let me know that you attended today, I will send you the link to the post-event page where you can view the slides, but also the video from today's discussion. And feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I want to thank you all and have a great rest of your week.
Great. Thanks, everyone.